Hello everyone. After a long time, I am making a contact through this video content, and this video is the part of my teaching to you on the subject of the labor law, and it is in continuation of what I have taught to you in a text mod. In this video, I am dealing with the topic dispute settlement mechanism as suggested under the Industrial Dispute Act. But before I should start, let us recap in brief what I have taught to you by now in the text mod. So if you recall that, then you will observe that we were learning about the subject industrial law. In the very first chapter, we tried to understand what is labor law under separate headings, and those heads were meaning of the labor law, origin of the labor legislation, then origin of the labor legislation in India, then constitutional bearing on the labor law, then objectives of the labor law, what are the classifications of the labor legislations. After that, we entered into the second chapter in where we try to understand the role of the International Labour Organization in setting the standard of the labor. I am not going to tell to you that what we were learned, but after that we took one important legislations, Industrial Dispute Act 1947. As this is one of the most important legislation around which all other labor legislation is circumscribed, therefore we divided into the separate parts, and in the very first part we tried to understand the origin and the history of the Industrial Dispute Act, then what are its aim, then its salient features. In the second part, we try to understand, and not only understand but also to analyze some important definitions which is given under the Act. And having completed this task, we were to enter into another part, that is the third and in subsequent part, for which this enactment is purposely enacted. The very important part, my dear student, and it covered the procedural aspects of the industrial law. Of course, Industrial Dispute Act, you can say that it is in fact a procedural, it covers a procedural aspects of the industrial law. And here you will try to understand that how a dispute is to be resolved. Therefore, it took to me a time, and I have taken very much time to put before you some text material, and I am sure that with the help of the which you will be able to understand, and not only the able but also you will able to analyze and criticize the law relating to Industrial Dispute Act, and you will be able to analyze also what is the scheme of the act. And what is the scheme? The scheme is to establish a different mechanism for resolution of dispute. So let us try to understand so I have made certain slides to make you understand these things. What is dispute settlement mechanism? I have just told to you that this act has a scheme to establish certain mechanism to resolve the industrial disputes. Therefore, the question therefore arises that what is industrial dispute? Be it clear. Disputes are the characteristics of the society, and you know, and you experienced in your life that, of course, without dispute, a man cannot survive. Disputes is a part of the society. But when disputes partake the industrial character, inherent in this character is the conflict between the labor and the capital. Labor and capital. Okay. The inherent inequality. The inherent inequality of the employment relationship play a major role in giving rise to industrial dispute. What I have just said to you? The inherent inequality between the employer and the employee. This is the basic reason which gives rise to the industrial disputes. But there are many factors which also gives rise to industrial disputes if considered upon. So what are those? You will see that question of distributions of the social product. Question of distributions of the social product. And you people are unable to understand at this present moment that, sir, what is the social product? In industry, when we talk about the social product, then according to the philosopher, particularly Karl Marxist or Marxist philosopher, social product is the outcome of the common effort of the employee and workman. So, any product of the industry, in fact, is the result of both the employer and employee. So, both employer and employee, as per the Karl Marx, are the owner of the product. But it is another matter that the employer give the wages to the employee, and therefore at present setup a workman cannot claim or ownership over the product. It is another matter. But industrial product or the product which is produced by which happens to be in industry is the social product. There is no doubt over it. The second factor is related to issue of the job security. Of course, if a person is retrenched, then how one can quit and keep silent? The third factor is related to constant urge of the workman to improve the standard of living. Constant urge. It is not that only one time a workman has said that, sir, please improve the standard of the living because what you are providing to me is not sufficient and is not amenable to live a standard life. So therefore, there comes from the sides of the employee a constant urge for improving the standard of the living, for This means that to improve the welfare measure for the laborers. And the next factor is inclinations of the employer to retain the surplus. Inclination. And this factor, you will see that this is common. If by the efforts of the workmen, an industry had an opportunity to had an opportunity, and not only opportunity, it did retain some surplus amount, or you say that some profit, then what he should do, that to distribute that surplus profit among the workmen in the form of some bonus, some incentives. But this usually didn't happen, doesn't happen. Okay, so therefore there is an inclination of the employer to retain the surplus, and these things are not digestible on the sides of the workmen, and therefore disputes may arise. And last thing is the growth of the trade union movement. Trade union movement. And what is the trade union? This you will understand by a later lecture. But note that all the above have a role to give rise to the industrial dispute. But ours has a concern to understand the industrial dispute, the meaning of it under the Act. So if we look into the Act, then you will find that the section 2K defines this industrial disputes to mean any dispute or difference between the employer and employers, or between the employers and workmen, or between the workman and workman, which is connected with employment or non-employment, or the term of the employment, or with the conditions of labor of any persons. So you need to analyze these definitions, what is given in this section 2K. Firstly, he said that an industrial dispute means any dispute or difference. So industrial disputes may be a disputes or difference, but such disputes and difference is to be between employers and employers, or between employers and workmen, or between the workman and the workman. So there are three types of the relationship involved in the industrial dispute. But the whole disputes, either the disputes among any relations, what I have just told you, is to be connected either with the employment or non-employment, or terms of employment, or with the conditions of labor. So there are four types of the matter involved in the industrial dispute, and that matter is related either to either to employment or non-employment, terms of the employment, conditions of the labor. Okay. Now let us understand industrial and collective dispute. For the purpose of the suitability of the settlement procedures, industrial disputes may be characterized into the individual and collective disputes. In general, a dispute is individual if it involves a single worker or a number of the worker in their individual capacity or in relation to their individual contract of the employment. What I have just said to you, a dispute is individual if it involves a single worker or a number of the worker in their individual capacity or in relation to their individual contract of the employment. So whatever the number of the individual, whether he is a single person or there is a group of the worker, it does not matter in the individual dispute. But what does matter is that such disputes, such individuals involved in the dispute must come before the employer in individual capacity or in relation to their individual contract of the employment. For example, disputes relating to discharge, dismissal, retrenchment and termination of the individual workman, service conditions such as allowance, increment, transfer, suspensions, retirement benefit, seniority promotion, etc. are the examples of the industrial disputes. So, what is individual disputes? It is clear to you now. Now come to the collective disputes. On the other hand, there are collective disputes which involve a number of the workmen, whether or not they belong to any trade union. And it affects the right of the worker and not the individual worker. Examples of the collective disputes are when disputes relates to wages, bonus or allowance, working hour, disciplinary procedures and other general conditions of the employment. So here it is a collective disputes, and such disputes doesn't come from the sides of the single employer, a single employee or workman, but come from a group of the workmen, and that group of the workmen is represented by trade unions. The characteristics features of the such disputes is that the matter involved in the such disputes affect not a single individual but a whole group, and thus you will see that the matter related to wages, bonus, allowance, working hour. So these are such disputes which is collective in nature. But in compared to individual disputes, suppose there are disputes relating to the dismissal. So by those dismissals, only a single person affects, and here you will see that there is no any examples of dismissals. These are those examples in where it has an effect of whole group. But one thing I would like to tell to you that, and very much important thing, When this as was enacted originally, there were no any recognitions of the individual disputes. So disputes were collective. And therefore, the response of the Industrial Dispute Act 1947 as to such distinctions is that the Act didn't recognize the individual disputes. It is only after the amendment that the individual disputes is recognized by the Act, and now any individual as to their matter can raise disputes and go for proper resolution. Now, let us see one more classifications of the industrial disputes. Disputes can also be classified on the basis of right dispute and interest dispute. Right disputes originate from complaint form, and here it is raised by one party, that is the workman, but the same is denied by the other party. So there is a demand from the one side and denial from the other side. This is the methodology of the such a disputes, that is right disputes arise or come. It is also called legal disputes, and it involves the issues relating to existing right of the workman under the existing contract of the employment, or any other norm having the force of the law, such as legislation, decisions of the court, award of arbitrations, or settlement. So the characteristics, features of this right dispute is that in this dispute, the issue is related to some existing right of the workman, and that existing right may either due to some existing contract or some any other norm which has the force of the law. The norm which has the force of the law may be legislation, decisions of the court, awards of the arbitrations, and settlement. Okay. Now let us see what interest dispute. As usual, it also arises from the demand of the trade union of the workman and denial from the sides of the employer. But the question is, why it is called interest disputes? This is because worker has not right to such demand. Worker has not right to such demand under the existing contract, nor in any other legal norm, but they only have interest upon them. They have only interest upon them. So in the previous case, that is in the right dispute, you saw that the worker have its basis of its right, and that basis is either incorporated in the contract of the employment if it is not, then in some other legal norm. But in this case, that is in the interest disputes, worker has no any right, but in the matter related to him, there is a interest. Examples, take examples. Disputes arise from the existing labor standard, where in labor union are demanding new and better labor standard in place of the existing one. So if a dispute is of such nature that there is an infringement or encouragement or denial of certain existing labor standard, then it is a right dispute. But there is no any such case. But the labor are demanding that, sir, enough is enough. This labor standard which has been set in the contract of the employment is the old one. Now the situation has changed, and we have a demand of some better standard of a living, and therefore the existing contract conditions should be improved or should be bettered one. So here is a demand from the sides of the workmen to have a better labor standard in place of the existing one. But what happens that the employer or management say that no, I am not able so to do. Therefore, disputes arise. So these are only the one examples. There may be several examples of the interest disputes. Thus, in the interest disputes, we can say that the concerned party has only the interest, but not have any right over the demand. So, if you try to analyze what is the relationship between among the right, interest and collective disputes, then you can observe that all individual disputes are by nature right disputes. All individual disputes are by nature right disputes. Collective disputes may either right disputes or interest disputes. And all interest disputes are essentially a collective disputes. The second question, and which is very much important and relevant to us, is that, sir, what is the purpose of classification of dispute? So, we must note that in many countries where such distinctions is maintained, distinctions between the various kinds of the disputes, the right disputes are decided firstly by mutual negotiation. That is, by method of collective bargaining, and after failure of the mutual negotiation, either by labor code or by private arbitrations. As far as Indian system of the dispute is concerned, collective bargaining is considered as best method to resolve the interest dispute, and failing that, conciliation and voluntary arbitration is found suitable method to supplement the collective bargaining. Adjudicatory system is relevant, but it is not suitable to resolve the interest dispute. But it is not irrelevant to mention that the Industrial Dispute Act does not make precise distinction between the right dispute and interest dispute. There is no structural difference between the labor courts, which has jurisdictions to try the right dispute as specified in second schedule, an industrial tribunal which has jurisdiction to try interest dispute as specified in the third schedule. So if we look into the act, then you will see that after the sections there is a schedule given in the act, and where you will see that there are some schedules which provide the subject matter, and this subject matter in fact is related to jurisdictions, and particularly it is mentioned that this subject matter is to be dealt with this type of the adjudicatory authorities, and that subject matter is to be dealt with the another adjudicatory authorities. So it is dependent upon the subject matter which involved in the industrial dispute that a labor court or industrial tribunal has a jurisdiction over that. Now come to the another points for our discussion. What is the mechanism to resolve the industrial disputes? For the purpose of maintaining industrial peace, the Act creates various authorities, and some among them are Work Committee, Conciliation Officer, Board of Conciliation, and Court of Inquiry. These authorities endeavor to settle the dispute or difference before it could reach to the adjudicatory authorities. And if the dispute or difference are not settled by working of these authorities, the adjudicatory proceeding come into operation. And the concerned authority for the adjudication are Labor Court, Tribunal, and National Tribunal. And these authority decides any disputes referred under this Act. Equally, it is important to note that a voluntary reference by the party to the dispute or difference make operative the arbitration proceeding, and hence the arbitrator can also adjudicate upon it. What is the voluntary arbitration? After these authorities which I am mentioning here, the Work Committee, Conciliation Officer, Board of Conciliation, and Court of Inquiry, when these authorities endeavor to settle the disputes or differences, then it is very good. But when they fail to bring a resolution of the disputes, then of course the party has an options to go for voluntary arbitrations rather than go for adjudication. So if they choose voluntary arbitration, then the Act facilitates them, and if they do not choose, then the adjudication proceeding come into the operation. And adjudication before which whom authority? So these are the authorities: Labor Court, Tribunal, and National Tribunal, depends upon the subject matter of the disputes. So conclusively we can say that these are the four ways of resolving the industrial dispute: collective bargaining, conciliation, arbitration, and adjudication. Now a very important question comes before us. Sir, is there any appellate provision given in this Act, or is there any appellate authority? The question is relevant. And at the outset, I would like to tell to you that Initially, there was no any appellate tribunal, the provision related to appellate tribunal provided in the Act. But later on, after an amendment, an appellate tribunal was constituted. But subsequent amendment repealed the working of the appellate tribunal. Therefore, the question naturally does arise, where does lies appeal? In this connection, it is relevant to mention you that High Court has appellate as well as superintendent's jurisdiction in the labor matter by virtue of the Article 226 and 227 of the Indian Constitution. Supreme Court has an appellate jurisdiction in the labor matter by virtue of the Article 136 of the Indian Constitution. Friends, what the way of settling the industrial dispute are? These all we will try to understand in the four incoming parts dealing with collective bargaining, conciliation, voluntary arbitration, and adjudication respectively. By these four parts, we would have covered five authorities created under this Act, namely Conciliation Officer, Board of Conciliation, Labour Court, Industrial Tribunal, and National Tribunal. And one more, which is Voluntary Arbitrator. In a separate part, after these four parts, we will try to understand the role of some other authorities, which authority has also been created under this Act, namely the Work Committee, the Court of Inquiry, and Grievance Redressal Committee. The last one is newly created. Dear student, I am going to provide to you some study materials which is created by myself. And I am very much confident that having learned it, you will be able to understand and analyze the whole law of the Industrial Dispute Act. And this material is originated by me after having a lot of the research work, and you are expected not to infringe the copyright protections, but of course you can use to it for your academic excellencies. Thank you.